All right, hello. We're at the Irvington Public Library. I'm going to bring you through my exhibit of astrophotography that I've had displayed here for all of January. Got a little table at the beginning with a pamphlet booklet of all 17 pieces of work that are on the wall, and I'll go through each of them. Here's my first work, is the Eagle Nebula. It's one of my earlier ones, so I'm having a little trouble with focus, so some of the stars are a little blurry, but we're seeing a gas nebula out in space as is. This is a red dust cloud that's sitting there in our Milky Way galaxy that's giving off this hue, almost like a little sunset, and it looks like a little bit like an eagle. Captured with a pure RGB camera, nothing composited there. Here we've got the Pleiades and the Betelgeuse star, so a single star, the left shoulder star of Orion. It's the accompaniment to Bellatrix. This is Betelgeuse. We named our dog Bellatrix. There's Pleiades, the seven sisters. It's seven stars in our Milky Way galaxy. They're giving off like a bluish hue. So in comparison to the red gas dust cloud over an Eagle Nebula, here's a bluish one. Totally real colors, nothing faked at all. The next three up are images from James Webb Space Telescope. This one is a composite image. It's using 6 different cameras, essentially 6 different wavelengths in monochrome captured and then completely colorized. So this wavelength is assigned to orange, this one's blue, this one's green, and so it doesn't look real, but it looks pretty. And the reason they do it is for science and data collection reasons. We can see past the dust clouds and nebulas that I was showing you earlier into other formations and things. And this is called the Pillars of Creation because it is a place in our galaxy, in our solar system, in our Milky Way galaxy that is a star forming region. So a lot of stars are being formed up at the top because of all the collection of dust and gas. Like I said, these are James Webb Space Telescopes, so here are the next 3. Also composites, completely faked. Well, captured, but then assigned colors using like the Hubble palette, a standard palette. And they're very pretty, but this isn't how you'd see it with your naked eye. And I use these as comparison to show off the difference between fake compositing and true RGB color, which is what I like to do and prefer to do. The next up are 3 solar eclipse photos. I went to Dallas, Texas this year to capture the solar eclipse in totality. I've captured the beginning of the solar eclipse here right before totality with the Bailey's beads, something where you can see little pokes of light coming through the valleys and peaks and mountains on the moon. So you can see these little beads on the edges of the moon and the sun peering through, which is very cool, and it tells you it's the beginning of totality. And then that next moment is when the moon completely blocks the sun and you're able to do longer exposures and capture the outer halo, the corona that extrudes from the sun that is visible only during totality. Something you can see with your naked eye too, which is great. Using the same camera that I did for the first 2 photos there. The next one up here is the end of the totality, when you know it's ending, and that's when the sun reveals itself again and you see what's called the diamond ring effect, where it looks like a diamond ring. Here what's really cool is I captured this little pink prominence that you might see, and that pink prominence is 4 times the size of the Earth. It's an arc of plasma, of magnetically contained plasma that can stay there for weeks, months at a time. This one was there for a week or so at least, and I saw it very prominently in other astrophotography photos. It's like that's the same one that I saw, which is really cool. That prominence was very prominent. All right, next up, we've got my moon series. So we got a few different moon ones here. Here's a Mars pulse. So this is the moon, the Mars going very close to the moon, not quite going behind it, but very near it. So it's an opportunity to capture them in the same frame, which is what I did here. Not one of my best works, but I'm proud of it because I was able to capture the Mars with a nice reddish hue and the moon in a single exposure, which can be very hard. A very common thing that astrophotographers will do is composite these 2 together. They'll take a picture of Mars separately, create a really good one, even zoom in on it, and then take a picture of the moon and put those 2 together. And that's a little fake, in my opinion, but still cool when you create neat art in astrophotography. Here's my youngest moon yet. It's the youngest moon because it was taken 4 days after a new moon where it was empty, right? A new moon goes to full. And so this is 4 days in the cycle of a 29.5 day cycle for the moon. And so I consider this like a teenage moon, which is why I call this the Teenage Mutant Ninja Moon. It's mutant because it's got like a reddish orangey hue because of the sunset, because it was very low in the horizon when I captured it. And I like to say ninja because I had to wake up before the sun rose, before the dawn was appearing. And so I call it ninja because ninjas strike first thing in the morning. And that's a fun one. I really like that one. It's real nice dark gleam, works well on the metal print. Here is my super duper mega extreme blue moon. So this was a day where the blue moon, where it was a blue moon because it was the largest and the brightest. So that's why it was I call it a super duper extreme mega moon, blue moon. And this one I captured using a technique called lucky imaging, something that allows you to capture as many frames as possible, and then you stack them to get as much clarity as possible. And this one is a composite because I did put it across the background of the stars because I just thought it looked nicer. It's the only one I faked in regard, but it is taken with the same telescope. All right, next up is another one of my favorites, and that one is the Orion Nebula, OOO Orion. This was one of my first successes, I guess, in astrophotography, where I really got excited because in this image, in this one frame, I was able to capture these blues and reds, and right next to each other was another nebula. And these are two distinct nebulas, but they do call it as part of Orion Nebula. It's the sword of Orion. So over there was Betelgeuse, which was the right shoulder star of Orion, the hunter, the constellation Orion. And this is the sword of Orion. And yeah, very pretty. I definitely want to go back to this target and capture more. I can notice a little bit of faintness or blurriness with the stars, and I know I can do better and capture more detail. But I really like what I was able to capture so far with this. Next up is my Whirlpool Galaxy photo. So what I really like about this one, this is a really far away galaxy. This galaxy, let's see, do I even have 23 million light years away? Oh my gosh, but I captured it. And it's like a spiral-like galaxy, kind of like the Milky Way galaxy, so it's kind of cool. It's a neighbor, a very far away neighbor, and it's a galaxy that's tugging on another galaxy. These two galaxies are in a little dance, and they're swirling and fighting and pulling on each other, which is really cool to capture. It's so small in this frame because it is something that is so far away, but I was able to capture it. And that was a fun one too. Next up, I got some variety in some of my astrophotography photos. So here I've got star trails. Did it in my house. Put the different camera, a GoPro camera, the one I'm filming on now, situated it far away from my house, aimed at the house, but aimed at north, and did it for about, I think, 8 hours. So it captured about 8 hours worth of light. You can see some car trails and lights from my house, glowing and blooming, but some really cool streaks through the sky. In fact, this really bright streak on the side here is Jupiter coming through the sky, which is why it's so thick. Yeah, I really like that. I'm gonna do more of these. These are fun. And then I was so lucky that in New York I was able to capture the Northern Lights. It was in my backyard. My kids and I, we went out on our back porch. We could see it with our own eyes. It was great. And so I got my camera out and I grabbed a few pictures. And what I love about this one is I can see some greens in the bottom left. I couldn't see those with my naked eye, but I could definitely see the red and the striations with my naked eye and the kids. And it was cool to see it move. So I captured this one. I think this was about like a 30-second exposure, maybe a 10-second exposure. What I like about it is I can see the greens in the bottom left, through red and striations and purples, up to the stars. I can even see some stars out of the corner, which I really like. And the last one on our tour of the exhibit is the Andromeda Galaxy, our neighbor, the closest galaxy to us. This one's fun to capture, of course, because it is the closest galaxy to us, and it is kind of like a representation of what the Milky Way galaxy could be like, because it's really hard to look at what we look like when we're in it, right? So we look out at neighbors to see what they look like and what's going on there, and sure enough, we can see little red splotches and gas nebula within that, just like we saw the Eagle Nebula and the Pleiades and the Orion Nebula, just like those. We can see that in this galaxy, which is so cool. And one of the things I learned on this astrophotography journey that marveled me or stunned me was that every single star you see here in this photo, or any other photo that I've shown you, that's a star in our own Milky Way galaxy. That's not a star out in the universe or in this galaxy, like the Andromeda galaxy. And that just blows my mind in the sheer number of stars that are fully out there. And in our galaxy, we estimate there's like 100 to 400 billion stars in our own Milky Way galaxy in our backyard. But then you go over to this galaxy, this neighbor, and they also have 100 to 400 billion stars. Well, that's a lot of stars. And even in this picture, you can make out another galaxy here. I don't know the name of it off the top of my head, and another galaxy here. So it's pretty remarkable. So that's all 17 exhibits that I had put up in the Irvington library. Thanks for coming.